A staggering number of Americans are now using cannabis every single day. The latest data reveals a figure that should give us all pause: approximately 18 million people. This isn't occasional recreational use at a weekend party. This is a daily habit, integrated into the very fabric of their lives, much like a morning cup of coffee or an evening glass of wine. But as this daily usage number climbs, a darker, more urgent conversation is emerging from the medical community. One that centers on a profound and deeply concerning risk to mental health that we can no longer afford to ignore. A landmark study published in the prestigious Canadian Medical Association journal has provided one of the clearest and most alarming pieces of evidence to date. Researchers in Canada analyzed a massive dataset of hospital records, focusing on people hospitalized for cannabis-induced psychosis. They found that individuals admitted for cannabis-induced psychosis were 14 times more likely to develop schizophrenia within 3 years. For those experiencing severe cannabis-induced psychosis requiring hospitalization, the risk skyrocketed to a staggering 241 times higher. This research forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. A hospital visit for a bad reaction to cannabis is a major red flag. It suggests that for vulnerable individuals, a severe psychotic episode isn't just a one-time reaction. It can be the prologue to lifelong mental illness. Cannabis-induced psychosis is a temporary but severe break from reality, triggered directly by cannabis use. A person experiencing it might have powerful paranoid thoughts, hear voices that aren't there, or see things that don't exist. Schizophrenia, however, is a much more complex and chronic brain disorder that fundamentally changes how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. It includes persistent symptoms like emotional flatness, loss of motivation, social withdrawal, and inability to function in daily activities. The terrifying possibility raised by recent research is that for vulnerable people, cannabis-induced psychosis might trigger the onset of lifelong schizophrenia. The temporary storm may be what finally breaks the dam. The marijuana available today bears little resemblance to the cannabis of the 70s, 80s, or 90s. Through sophisticated cultivation techniques and advanced processing, we have created a product that is exponentially more powerful. THC concentrations have skyrocketed from just 4% 20 years ago to 20% or higher today. Cannabis concentrates can reach astronomical levels, frequently 70, 80, and even over 90% THC. Flooding the brain with massive amounts of THC can completely overwhelm the delicate cannabinoid receptor system. For developing brains of adolescents and young adults, this extreme exposure is an incredibly risky proposition. Emergency room physicians are seeing increasing numbers of patients with severe cannabis-related health problems. Severe anxiety and panic attacks are common, trapping users in terrifying loops of racing thoughts and paranoia. High doses of THC can cause dangerous tachycardia, putting significant strain on the cardiovascular system. Cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome causes severe cyclical vomiting in chronic users, potentially leading to dehydration and kidney failure. High THC cannabis impairs short-term memory and executive functions, affecting academic and work performance. These aren't trivial side effects. They can profoundly impact an individual's ability to achieve their full potential. At the federal level, marijuana remains a Schedule I substance, classified alongside heroin and LSD as having no medical use and high abuse potential. Yet nearly half of all states have legalized cannabis for recreational use, creating a bizarre legal duality. The Department of Health and Human Services has recommended moving cannabis from Schedule I to Schedule III. While this could unlock valuable research, it might be misinterpreted as a federal stamp of approval for safety. The most important advice is to be mindful of potency. Always check THC percentages and start with products under 10% if you're new to cannabis. Avoid ultra-potent concentrates, dabs, and edibles until you understand your personal tolerance. The greatest risks are associated with daily use. Consider limiting use to weekends or specific occasions rather than making it a daily habit. Build intolerance breaks, periods where you abstain completely to reset your brain's receptors and reduce cumulative exposure. Pay close attention to your mental health. If you experience increased anxiety, paranoia, or disorganized thinking, these are serious warning signs. Stop using immediately and consult with a healthcare professional. Continuing use in the face of symptoms can escalate a manageable problem into a crisis. Be particularly cautious if you have personal or family history of mental illness, especially psychosis or schizophrenia. For those with genetic predisposition, the safest choice is to avoid cannabis altogether, particularly today's high-potency products. We are at a critical crossroads in our national relationship with cannabis, facing a profound public health imperative. We must launch a robust, science-based public awareness campaign about the risks of high-potency products. We must move beyond the simple legal versus illegal debate to focus on safety, informed consent, and harm reduction. Healthcare providers must be equipped with latest research and comfortable discussing cannabis use with patients. People cannot make safe choices without necessary information. We need transparent risk information like any other consumer product. We need continued research, better tracking of cannabis-related health problems, and educational campaigns as sophisticated as industry marketing. The path forward is not to turn back the clock on legalization, but to mature in our approach, treating cannabis like any powerful substance with both benefits and risks. For individuals, this means personal responsibility and self-awareness. Cannabis use is a personal health decision that should be fully informed. Knowledge is power, and in this new landscape, knowledge is our best tool for protection. The link between high-potency cannabis use and schizophrenia is not a hypothesis. It's a clinical reality affecting families right now. By bringing this issue into mainstream conversation, we can begin to reverse the trend and empower safer choices. We can build a future where the benefits of legalization are not overshadowed by a preventable public health crisis. The time for awareness, education, and action is now.